Swamin namaste natalokabandho karunya sindho patitam bhavabdhau mamuddharatmiya kataksha drishtya rijvyati karunya sudhabhivrishtya. Swamin namaste, Swamin namaste, Swamin namaste, Swamin namaste. Deham dhiyam chit pratibimbamevam visrijya buddhau nihitam guhayam drashtaaramatmanamakhanda-bodham sarva-prakasham sadasadvilakshanam nityam vibhum sarvagatam susukshmam antarbahishunyamananyamatmanah vijñāya samyang nijarupametat puman vipapma virajo vimrityuh vishokanandaghano vipaschit swayam kutaschinna bibheti kaschit nānyosti pantha bhavabandha muktehe vina svatatvabagamam mumukshoh Shanta mahanto nivasanti santo vasantavallokahitam charantaha tirna swayam bhima bhavarnavam janan ahetunanyanapi tarayantaha tirna swayam bhima bhavarnavam janan ahetunanyanapi tarayantaha. Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru. So I started the Rishabha Charitam from Srimad Bhagavatam, and now it's nearly 1 month later that I'm again today we'll be talking on that. I think we were for a long time discussing how we are mistakenly identified with our body, mind and intelligence complex, and because of that we are deluded, ignorant, and we forget our real identity, whereas we are the changeless, imperishable, eternal self, the soul. We feel identified with the changeful body, mind and intelligence and suffer. So we have been doing and discussing from various scriptures about how this identification takes place, and later we started looking into if that is what is the root cause of all the suffering, then how to get rid of this identification, the I-ness and the mine-ness, which comes out of ignorance of the fact that we do not know our real identity. So we have been discussing from various scriptures, and then I thought it will be very relevant to take this section from Srimad Bhagavatam, where Rishabha Deva tells his children, he had 100 sons, and he was telling them how one can get rid of this I-ness, I-sense. So he was actually born as a part of Lord Vishnu himself. and he had all the qualities which Lord Hari or Vishnu has. However, although he was having all the divine qualities, from outside in his activities and his life, he looked as though he was an ordinary man. But what he was he was full of the spiritual bliss. He was always peaceful, and he was ever unattached. He was equipoised, and he knew that this attachment to the house, property, body, and all that we consider as our own, belonging to us, all this attachment brings about the suffering in man. So he understood that householders mostly, they do not understand how to live the life. And so he wanted to lead a life in such a way to show to the world that the household life or the life in the world is not for just indisciplined enjoyment, but it is for the acquisition of dharma, wealth, good name, progeny, and ultimately the spiritual fulfilment. So he thought that he would live such a life so that everybody's attention goes towards that. He was a king who was enlightened, and as I told you, he had spiritual and divine qualities. So he understood that if he follows a particular path with the aim of spiritual fulfillment, then seeing the noble man whom people can follow, everybody will be following him. His subjects especially, his children no doubt, everybody will be following that kind of life. So generally, the example set by the noble people is followed by others. So he thought that he will do that. And he spoke to his children first. And he said that, see, Nayam deho deha bhajam niloke. He said that this human body, which we acquire in this world, actually it is, we acquire the human body, it is sulabham but sudurlabham. Very easily we have got it. We have done nothing to get a human body, but it is very rare to have a human body also. And having had the human body, it does not deserve to be used for only enjoyments, and that too in indiscipline. All this, if we only look towards small sensuous pleasures, then what will happen is that those pleasures being short-lived, our mind becomes either full of sorrow when those pleasures are gone, or it is fearful, thinking that whatever I have acquired will go away, and the mind will be full of fear, delusion, and grief. So he says that this human body which we acquire in this world is not to be used for only sensuous enjoyments, but it is to be used for austerity and tapas. With what aim? Remaining in the world, remaining in the midst of worldly activities, in the household. Our main aim, along with the material prosperity, our supreme aim should be to attain the supreme, that is, infinite bliss of Brahman, to attain that. One must aim for that. So he told his sons that, my dear children, the I-ness and mindness comes from the wrong identification with the body. We start feeling this body is the I. And we forget that I am the soul, I am the changeless soul. Only when this strong I sense, that I-ness, only when this I sense, which is identical with the mind, created by result of various actions, we are constantly active, and we feel that I am doing, or I have to do, or I have not done. I am praised. So always this I comes in front, the kartritva and bhoktritva, because of this I feeling. Only when that will be slackened, then what will happen is the mind will get withdrawn from all the attachments, first of all to the body, wife, children, house, property, qualifications, any kind of achievement that one has had in life. This withdrawal will take place. And when the I-ness is given up, what will also follow? One will get liberated. Having this I-ness gone, one will be free and one will be realizing the soul, the self. That is the supreme state. So he told the sons, my dear children, this should be the aim in life. And to attain that, have a disciplined life. Follow these. And he told them 25 points. The last time that I took, the session that I took for this Rishabha Charitam, I had done only one sloka. There are few slokas and which tell us about 25 points which Rishabha Deva told his sons. You know, it is very interesting. When I was taking those portions, I think I was taking from various scriptures, Viveke Chudamani, Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Sara Sangraha, Ashtavakra Samhita. From everywhere I was collecting relevant slokas to see how we are attached to our body, and the I sense comes, and then comes the mindness. So then I remembered that how Rishabha Deva has discussed this. And you know, in Bhagavatam you will find in many, many skandhas, Vyasadeva has given us very detailed pursuit, what we should do. Many people tell us, ask us, we do not know what is sadhana. What should we do for doing sadhana? Or if I do this, I find that I am not successful. All the sadhana that is given, one must make effort to do that, practice it. And if one is practiced, others will also follow. So Rishabha Deva told that please follow this. And if you are able to follow this, you will find that your I sense has got dissolved. So let us see what are the shlokas, what are the points that he has said. Hamse gurau mai bhaktyanuvritya vitrishnaya dvandvatitikshaya cha sarvatra jantor vyasana bhagatya jijñāsaya tapaseha nivritya. See, it is in the 5th skandha, 5th chapter, 10th to 13th shloka. So 10, 11, 12, 13. 4 slokas are there in which 25 points have been given. And we will go through each point and we will find actually all these things we are doing. Only thing, we have to understand the value of its doing. And we must be careful to see whether we are pursuing this or performing this with some aim in mind, or it is just we are doing mechanically or habitually. So I will first chant all the 4 slokas and then we will come one by one. My dear children, I've been always telling you that if I look back in my spiritual life, I feel that I've got a lot of joy doing sadhana. And even now, the sadhana, and to be able to become purer and purer, to be feeling more and more divinity, auspiciousness every moment, I get a lot of joy. So when I read this, I started reading. It is 1 month back that I had taken this up. At that time I had read, and 1 month has passed. So many things happened in between. So when I started again thinking that I have to take this up, I was reading early in the morning. Only just reading it, reading with lot of love, not even wanting that I must have it, just the love of it, to know what Rishabha Deva is telling, to be surrounded by all the things that he is saying, understanding them and feeling that I can do this. Oh, this has to be done. This divinity and this auspiciousness, the feeling of purity and sublimity, it just, encompasses, envelops when we read with love. Just to be with these words, how to explain? I think this is a correct expression. To be in the midst of all the things that is being told. For what? For our improvement, spiritual improvement. So, Hamse Gurau Mai Bhaktya Nuvritya Vitrishnaya Dvandvatitikshaya Cha Sarvatra Jantor Vyasanavagatya Jidnyasaya Tapaseha Nivritya Matkarma Bhirmat Kathaya Cha Nityam Maddeva Sangad Gunakirtanan Me Nirvaira Samyopashamena Putra Jihasaya Deha Gehatma Buddhe Adhyatma Yogena Vivikta Sevaya Pranendriyatma Bhijayena Sadhryak Chasradhaya Brahmacharyena Shashwad Asampramadena Yamena Vacham Sarvatra Madbhava Vichakshanena Jnanena Vijnana Virajitena Yogena Dhrityuddhama Sattva Yukto Lingam Vyapohet Kushalohamakyam. 4 slokas I have chanted. Now, what does he say? Just be very, very attentive. Very attentive. You know what he says right in the beginning? Hamse Gurau Mai Bhaktya Nuvritya. Hamse Gurau Mai Bhaktya. What does it mean? It means devotion to and service of an enlightened Guru who is myself. The Guru is myself. Who is telling this? Rishabha Deva. From what plane is he saying? He was part of Sri Hari. So from that divine supreme state, he is giving this upadesha or the instruction to his sons. For what? For their spiritual progress. To do what? To attain that state where the I-ness dissolves and one realizes one's real identity. All that he is saying, he is trying for their spiritual progress so that they will be attaining that supreme felicity. They will be realizing their real identity. And in that, the first thing he is telling is that devotion to and service of an enlightened Guru who is myself. The Guru and the Lord, the Supreme, is one. Thinking that one must associate with the Guru and learn at his feet by doing service and with absolute openness to receive whatever the Guru says and whatever instruction the Guru gives, taking it with wholeheartedness, wholesomeness, and pursue. Then, vitrishnaya, it says that hamse gurau mai bhaktya anuvritya, that is, and also whatever the Guru instructs, you repeatedly practice it. Practice whatever is said. Then vitrishnaya. What is vitrishnaya? Having dispassion. So, while whatever the Guru says, you do this practice or that practice, this sadhana, or he tells us about the self, about vairagya, about whatever disciplines you have to follow, how you have to introspect. He talks about the viveka, vairagya, shamadamadi, shatka sampatti, moksha. He talks about meditation. The role of the Guru is constantly making the mind or taking the mind of the devotee or the disciple away from worldliness. What is worldliness? I-ness. Our worldliness is because of I-ness. That we are identified with our body, mind and intelligence. We think this is the body, these are my possessions, all these things belong to me. And because of those which we think are mine, they are all changeful, including the body that one feels that I am this. All these are changeful, they change, bringing about suffering to the mind and intelligence. So the Guru's role is to constantly take the mind and intelligence of the disciple to higher and higher plane, exposing it to the knowledge of the self, the spiritual knowledge, exposing, making him understand, helping him to realize, telling him all that he must do, the sadhana that he must do, to realize. So, the Shishya must be at the feet of the Guru and learn, repeatedly learn. So, whatever instruction the Guru gives, one may be repeatedly practicing it. But one must have this viveka or the vichara in the mind or introspection in the mind to see whether the mind is becoming dispassionate to the world or not. Vitrishnaya. Every day you are getting up in the morning, you are having your devotional practices, your spiritual practices. Maybe you are meditating for some time, reading for some time, contemplating for some time. But rest of the time you are absolutely worldly. Your attachments do not reduce. In fact, they become more and more. Whatever you can leave also, you hold on to them. So that will not make you progress in this path. So what one has to do, Rishabha Deva is telling that with lot of bhakti, what the Guru says, practice them. But also see, analyze, assess whether dispassion to petty matters, small matters, which has been constantly making you feel narrow-minded, attached, whether your mind is able to leave them and whether it has left. Whether dispassion to such things are growing. When dispassion to worldly matters grow, how will it grow? Only when we think more of God, more of the self, we start loving divinity more, purity more, God more, or the thought of self more, then naturally many of the things which were taking away your time unnecessarily will be left. So one has to constantly do vichara and see this. Then dvandva titikshaya. What is dvandva titikshaya? That is, in our life, always we are revolving between sukha and dukkha, happiness and unhappiness. We may be having happiness, but there will be many unhappiness also coming and all. It is never all the time happiness or all the time unhappiness. They constantly go in a rotation. When we are happy, we are very much elated. But we are also sometimes fearful that, oh, everything is happy, everything is okay. Suppose this does not stay. Suppose something happens by which I get unhappiness or I am afflicted. So whereas we are enjoying the happiness, there at the back of our mind there is also a fear or anxiety whether this beautiful state of happiness will stay forever. It will not stay, we know. So that feeling also is there. And when we are in dukkha or in unhappiness, not to speak of that, we feel aggrieved, afflicted, sorrowful. We are full in misery. So, knowing that sukha and dukkha, happiness and unhappiness will be visiting us by turns, we must know to remain stable. Have titiksha, forbearance, and not get affected by any of those. So what is the third point? So this is the fourth point. First point was having devotion for the Guru, who is myself. Second is practice. Third is have dispassion. Fourth point is dvandva titikshaya. So, my dear children, I don't know whether you're getting interest in these or not. I would say develop interest. Just listening, just reading, it's in one way it is very good that you are taking some time out of your routine and you are doing listening and reading, maybe contemplating, maybe meditating, maybe chanting. But you have to think like this. What is it saying? Dvandva titikshaya. So, whatever is my spiritual routine remaining in the household, I have a spiritual routine of say 2, 3, 4 hours. Rest of it, in the rest of the period we must do this. We must see, introspect and see whether we are growing in dispassion, whether we are growing in titiksha, forbearance. Forbearance to what? Forbearance to happiness and unhappiness. Or, even though I have a very satisfactory spiritual routine every day, when it comes to some kind of disturbance in my life, say some sorrowfulness or some episodes which make me sorrowful, I am absolutely afflicted. This should not happen. So, along with all these practices, one must, by vichara, constantly think that let happiness be there, unhappiness be there. I am the soul. I will be unaffected. That titiksha should be there. The forbearance should be there. Then, sarvatra jantor vyasanavagatya. Constant remembrance that every creature undergoes suffering in their life. That whether it in this life or the other life, For every creature, there is suffering. There will be sukha and dukkha. And not only that, understanding that, one must feel for the dukkha of the others. If we must feel, we should be sensitive to others' sorrow, others' misery. So, knowing that, constantly with viveka and vichara, knowing that every creature in this world undergo lot of suffering. So suffering is not only for me, everybody has. So then you start having feeling for others. You become sensitive to others, which expands the mind. It takes away the I-ness very quickly. My dear children, we are only concerned about ourselves. I and my small family, maximum an extended family, not more than that. It doesn't matter what is happening to others. If anybody in my small family or extended family, or people whom we know, or with whom I have some relationship, if something happens to them, I am affected. Otherwise not. But what is this spiritual growth? The spiritual growth, the spiritual realization is to know that the real identity that I am the self, eternal. And this self is everywhere, in everybody, every time. There is only one self, Brahman. Everywhere it is. The same thing. So, the mind expands. Otherwise what we do? We are absolutely in a cocoon, narrow-minded. We are in a small circle, going round and round and round in that small circle. Our mind doesn't expand. So it says that sarvatra jantor vyasanavagatya. It is a practice, my dear children. Rishabha Deva is saying you must practice this. It's not just telling. Sarvatra, everywhere. Understanding that everywhere, every creature has dukkha. Be sensitive to them. Understand them. Try to feel their sorrows. Try to share their dukkha. Then only the mind will expand from this smallness to universalness. Then jijñāsaya. What is jijñāsaya? Jijñāsaya is to be knowing about the self, about the ultimate knowledge, the supreme knowledge, that the soul is my real identity, the self, eternal, imperishable, changeless, I am. And in this Bhagavatam, it is in Bhagavatam, the same knowledge of Vedanta, as if it has been dipped in bhakti rasa. In the honey and nectar of bhakti, the same knowledge has been dipped and it is being given to us. So, jijñāsaya, in this Bhagavatam, Rishabha Deva is saying, you must, the yearning to know about God, who is God, what is my relationship with God, what are the qualities of God, and who are the devotees who are one with God. What are their characteristics? I consider myself to be a bhakta, but I want to know the characteristics of bhakta. Do I have them? What should I do to have the lakshanas of bhaktas? When can I be called a true bhakta? That enquiry and yearning to know all this. Jnāsaya, tapasa. So one must do tapasya, austerity, and that last time when I took this, I had discussed from Bhagavad Gita what are the physical austerities, bodily austerities, the austerities of speech and austerity of the mind, as told in Bhagavad Gita. This austerity I will do again. It is very, very important, because just see, in our day-to-day life, we are dealing with this every time. From the time we get up in the morning, we are conscious of our body. With our body, we are doing a lot of activities. And constantly we are talking also. I think most of the time when we are awake, we want to talk. If you ask somebody, just sit for some time without talking, after some time that person will get bored. He will become restless. And also we are thinking. The mind is constantly thinking, scattered. So, what is this austerity? So there is so much scope to see how the thoughts, which is through the mind, or speech, which is through the tongue, and the bodily activities, how we can do, what we can do with them so that all these take us to the spiritual growth. And these are not something abstract. We are constantly involved in thought, speech, and action. So, it will be very interesting to understand how we can turn them towards divinity. We are doing every day, all of us are living, all of us are thinking, all of us are speaking, all of us are acting with all our limbs and all that. But how all those can be turned into spirituality, divinity, and we will feel that we have become pure through all these things, through the mind, through speech, and through the bodily activities. So, this I will discuss further. The previous one, that day also I have told a lot, but further we will discuss later on. I will do this one first. So, tapasya, I spoke about the bodily activities, bodily austerity, the speech austerity, and the mental austerity. And all those are, if you can do like that, they are called sattvika austerities. Also in this comes, fasting, going for pilgrimages and all that. You can do such kind of austerities also. Then is the iha nivritya. The last word was tapasa iha nivritya. What is iha nivritya? Iha nivritya is giving up the endeavor for sense enjoyment, or giving up such work for personal gain. Narrow selfish gains. We should not do any work which is only very selfish, self-centered, only for personal gains. We should see to it that it has effect of welfare for everybody. With that kind of an attitude, we should do every work, and it can be done. So, iha nivritta is actually the pravritti or the desire to take up such activity after activity for personal gain and personal achievements. So, this is the first sloka. What is the second sloka? So we have done 8 points. Now comes 9. Mat karma bhir mat kathaya cha nityam maddeva sangad guna kirtanan me nirvaira samyopashamena putra jihasaya deha gehatma buddhe. So he is saying, O sons, he is calling them and telling, please listen to me. I am talking to you for your welfare, so that remaining in this worldly life, you will be able to cut asunder this knot of I-ness and you can be liberated. Jivan Mukta. So he says, mat karmabhihi, mat karmabhihi. So, dedication of all actions to me. About this, I think now all of you know. We have been talking and talking about when we do any action, we should feel that we are doing everything as an offering to God. And why? Why are we offering to God? Remembering that God is everything. From God alone, the whole creation is there. He only sustains and everybody dissolves in Him. He alone is and we belong to Him. I am God's. That feeling, and that apart from God, apart from self, nothing is there. That feeling one has to cultivate. We have had many discussions on this. My dear children, if having discussed it for many, many times, and all of us constantly are saying, this is the one thing, the supreme thing, to understand that I am the self, or everywhere is the self, everywhere is God. God is inside me, outside me, everywhere, surrounding me. That feeling, having discussed it again and again, I think if you say that it is still difficult to think and understand or realize, what can be said? It should be easy. Remind yourself. We may forget. Remind yourself. And as we remind, as days will pass, initially we will forget, then by our reminder, feeling it, feeling God everywhere, in everything, we will find that God is everywhere. We will not be able to forget it at all. So, what it says, mat karmabhihi. If we know that God has given us this life, our limbs, our senses, our prana, our mind, our buddhi, body, everything is by God alone, and that we are walking, talking, we are living, it is because He enlivens us with this feeling and the feeling that I belong to Him. All the work that is being done and comes our way, who gives us? I have no control over anything. That one after another work is coming in front. Say our 2 days are not equal. Every day we may have a routine. But in that routine also, someday there will be a disturbance, someday there will be very peacefulness. How does it come? How does it go? Do we have any control over that? I might be planning something, but it doesn't get done. Something happens. Or sometimes we plan, and more than what we have planned, it gets done. Is there any control? To be constantly applying the intelligence, the enlightened intelligence, to do vichara, to think this, and to feel the presence of that consciousness, God, or self, or Brahman, whatever you may call it, the feeling of that supreme, then is it that we work? Can we say that I am doing all this? I am doing, I am the doer. All that should go away. All we should feel, all that we can feel is that we are doing, you are giving us the work, and we are doing the work offering back to you. tava priyartham. To please you, O my God, I do the work that you give me every day, every moment. The thoughts that come to my mind, the words that come to my mouth, all the activities that I do, everything that happens to me, it is given by you, O God. And I try to perform it. I will perform them to the best of my ability, lovingly, to please you. This should be our attitude. So, this attitude, he says, my dear sons, keep this attitude. Keep this attitude. See, we are walking, every day we are walking. Even to do the household work, we are constantly walking in the house. Can we not think that we are taking a pradakshina of the Lord? If this whole world is God and God alone, where is he not? Is only the temple? Is he only the temple? But when we go and take a pradakshina of the temple, we feel we have made a pradakshina, a divine pradakshina. Can we not change our attitude and think that all the steps that I am taking, it is a pradakshina of you, my Lord, because you are everywhere. These disciplines, my dear children, it is only, attitudinal change, transformation of the whole being, transformation of the thought processes that we have. You try, and as I told you, you try from 1 or maybe 2, 3, 4. You will find all others are getting done. Because what has happened? You have turned towards divinity. Taking your mind away from worldliness, all along, throughout the day, we are looking at the world, thinking that we'll get happiness from there. I'll do this, I'll get happiness. I will acquire this, I will get happiness. So always our senses are towards the outside world, not finding God there. We find God only in the temples. But if we can find God everywhere, then what happens? Every step is divine. Every activity is divine. All that we do is divine. So, mat karma bhi. He is saying, my dear children, Rishabha Deva is telling his children, change your attitude. Whatever you are doing, think that it is an offering to me. Then, mat kathaya cha nityam, and talk about me. How will you remember? We are constantly in the household. What are we talking about? We are talking about our work, our children, our grandchildren, our acquisitions, our property, how to save the money, grow it more and more. All that. Our name, fame, recognition, prestige. All these things we are talking about. Nothing else. So he says, all the disciplines that I am telling about will become easier if you talk about me. Talk about my glory. You are reading. You are listening. You are studying. Then talk that. When you get up from your spiritual and devotional practices, why do you talk other things? Yes, some very important things or very necessary things you will have to talk. But what about the other things that you talk? Chit-chat, gossip, criticize others, find fault with others. All these things most of the people do. Why should we do? Can we not discuss what I have seen or what I have read, what I have listened to, what have been my feelings? Looking at a flower, looking at the trees, how I felt when the breeze passed by. I felt it was the touch of God, as if God caressed on my cheeks. Can we not think like this? Yes, we can. Practice. That is why he says, anuvritya. Practice, practice. Don't practice it only for one day and then leave it. And rest of the time you think of other things. So mat kathaya cha nityam. And where will you get this mat katha? It is about the talk about me, my glory, my excellences, etc., etc. My deeds, divine deeds. So who is saying? Rishabha Deva is saying, my means God's divine deeds. Talk about the devotees, all that. How will it be done? Wherefrom will you hear? Maddeva Sangat. So keep association and mix with devotees. Not worldly people. You read this section, this 5th skanda, 5th chapter. Constantly telling, don't mix with worldly people. And my dear children, I want to tell you, all of you who are sincere, serious, slowly you should leave worldly associations. Such associations where you will be talking only about worldly things, which disturbs your mind or makes your mind rajasic and tamasic. You have to slowly withdraw from those associations without hurting them, without making them feel a sense of loss. You should know how to do it. But you must come away from such associations and grow in sattvic associations. So, Maddeva Sangat. Have such associations which are devoted to me. Devoted to me. Those people whose mind have nishtha towards me. Seek their company. Seek the company of devotees. Seek the companies of gurus, mahatmas, realized souls. And may gunakirtanat. And also, when you are in that association, what you should do? Do gunakirtana. Sing my name. Sing my name. My excellences, sing that. Whether you sing alone, whether you sing in chorus, sing. What will the effect of that? Divinity. Effect of that? Getting away from worldliness. So he is telling all these things. What did he say? He is saying that offer all your karma when you are active in the world, whatever karma you do, whether you are doing some devotional act, say you are worshipping, maybe plucking flowers, lighting a lamp, lighting incense stick, blowing a conch. Those are all devotional activities. There, very naturally the mind becomes sublime and pure, divine. Even then, you should see to it that the mind is restful at that time. The mind is not thinking some other things. Our mind is not in a hurry to finish that devotional act. Generally it happens, people will go to the puja room, every day the same thing, 1, 2, 3, 4 items, everything will be done. But at the back of the mind will be, how fast I can do all this, because so many other work will be waiting for one. Not that. Be restful. Rest in the bosom of the soul. Rest in the bosom of God. Lovingly do all that you have to do. So, all the work, whether it's a devotional work or even worldly work in the office, in the house, everywhere, all the work that one has to do, remember, understand, and feel that it has been given by God and you are offering it back. Then, constantly talk about the Supreme Lord. Have the association of the devotees, Mahatmas, Gurus, and sing my excellences. Now, all this can be done. Even though these are done, still the mind will not become restful unless the following are done. What is that? Nirvaira. Nirvaira samyopashamena putra jihasaya deha gehatma buddhehe. What is it? Nirvaira. That is, do not have any kind of enmity or anger or irritation for anybody. So, I don't know whether this is interesting for you. I find it very interesting because it is all sadhana oriented. We have to do. We just don't listen and leave it. You have to do. And when you have to do and you are serious, it becomes interesting. What it is saying, right from the beginning, so many things have been said. Now it comes to such things which we constantly encounter. What? We in our day-to-day life constantly get irritated, annoyed, we have dislike, and so many things. So what is he saying? My dear children, Rishabha Deva is saying that do not have any kind of against feeling for anybody. Don't have animosity. Don't be irritated with anybody. So you have to practice this. So what is the practice? Throughout the day, so many incidents and episodes will be there. So many opportunities will come to practice this. Not to be irritated, not to feel annoyed, not to have dislike, not to have hatred. Then, samyopashena. Samya. What is samya? Samata. Samata for what? Again the same thing. Samata, whether it is good or bad, whether it is happiness or unhappiness, whether you like somebody or you dislike somebody, you remain stable. Also, when you see the sorrow of others or the happiness of others, you can share it. You join in them. You share the sorrow and happiness of others. Upashamena. Then comes another thing. What is upashamena? That is, do not be angry. The same thing. Nirvaira samya upashamena. Do not have animosity, do not have anger, do not have irritation, and have samatha. Then, deha geha atma buddhehe jihasaya. That is cultivation of intense desire to give up the identification with home and one's own body. So there is a lot of responsibility to be a devotee, to be a seeker, to have a thought or seriousness in the mind, to progress in this path. All these things have to be followed, done. And one should do it with lot of responsibility. What is this last one? He says, Deha geha atma buddhehe jihasaya. That is, one must have intense desire to get over what? Identification with home and one's own body. That is our problem. Because of the I-ness and mine-ness. With the body, it is the I-ness. And home, etc. Home means home and wife, husband, children, etc., etc. The identification that we have. And because of the identification, whatever changes come there, we also suffer because of that. If it is sukha, it is sukha. It is dukkha, it is dukkha. Constantly we are having this and not having this feeling of unaffectedness. Though as my real identity I am unaffected, but because of this mistaken identification with body and whatever is belonging to the body or around the body, we are having this I-ness and mine-ness and all kinds of suffering. So, throughout the day, a practice also should be there. We have done this. How to do that practice? If you have forgotten, I'll just remind you. We have been doing it, that you must think as if in the dream, as in the dream family we find. In Bhagavatam only it was there, that in the dream family, we may be having a big family. But when we get up from the dream, we don't think that we belong to that family, or suddenly that family is not there. We don't feel dukkha at all. So this Jagrat also, we must think like that, as if it is a dream family. Another is, just like we meet in the train or in a fair, we meet many people, we go together, we enjoy together, and then after our station has come, whosoever station has come, they get down from the train and go away. Maybe we have traveled for one full day, and we got to talk with each other, liked each other, we exchanged so many notes. But then, as the station comes and one family goes away, we may not see them at all. But we are not getting attached to them. So to think like this, while in the world, with our own family members, we must think like this, on and off, on and off. The question is, do you want to get rid of this I-ness? If you only want to know about this I-ness as a knowledge, that this I-ness and mine-ness, there is something like that. And that is the cause of our suffering. If you only want to know only that much, it's okay. But if you want to go beyond it and cross over the effect of I-ness and mine-ness, then these things you will have to do. What is the third one? Stay, just like a guest comes to your house. The guest may be doing many things with you. When you're cooking, the guest may also join in. Or you went out together, eating together. But the guest knows that this is not my home. My home is somewhere else. I do not belong here. So, to get over or transcend these feelings of Dehatma Buddhi, that is this body, I am the body, and the feeling of mindness, one can think like this, should think like this, should. On and off these thoughts, do Vichara, We spend our time talking. Vritha. Vritha means unnecessarily petty matters we'll be talking. What our Shastras say, do Vichara, do Vichara, do Vichara. These are the Vicharas. So, it says that Deha Geha Atma Buddhehe Jihasaya. So there should be a yearning, one yearning to get rid of this attachment to the body and all that belongs to the body. So, then the third shloka. Adhyatma yogena vivikta sevaya pranendriyatma bhijayena sadhyak chashraddhaya brahmacharyena shashvad asampramadena yamena vacham adhyatma yogena vivikta sevaya. This adhyatma yogena, that is study of the scriptures. The study of the scriptures is absolutely necessary. And study of the scriptures means study, not just read through, not just read two shlokas or 4 shlokas every day. Study and become that. This morning in Prabhatarashmi, Swamiji was saying, Prabhatarashmi, I think, in that only he was saying, that if you read something or you listen to something, you must pursue. And why should you pursue? To become. To become. So, in spirituality, whatever you listen, whatever you read, whatever you come across, It is for becoming. So the study of scripture should not be just studying like novels. It should be you become that. So study of scriptures, it should be done very seriously every day. Vivikta sevaya. What is vivikta sevaya? That is living in solitude. Not wanting too much crowd. So always, at least in the household, it may not be possible, but find out some time for yourself when you can sit alone, maybe early in the morning, get up early in the morning, sit a corner in the house, sit there alone, think, do vichara, do meditation, read something, and constantly don't get carried away, or say friends will come, let us go for partying, let us go for merrymaking, let us do this, let us do that. One's intention and love should be to remain in solitude. Then pranendriyatmabhijayena sadhryak. Sadhryak means completely. Prana, Indriya and Atma. So, complete conquest of the prana, the senses and the mind. Restraint of the pranas, restraint of the senses, restraint of the mind. These are absolutely necessary. You read anything, you read the Bhagavad Gita, you read the Bhagavatam in many other chapters. I'll also take trying to tell you how important it is, my dear children. Just like that, Rishabha Deva has not said. Just like that, I am also not taking up this chapter. I am thinking all of you are very serious seekers, and to help you, that see what they have written. Conveniently, most people do sadhana in a convenient manner. Whatever is convenient, that they will take to. But if you are serious, and I say that there is a joy in being serious, joy in being excellent, joy in being wholesome. Half-heartedly you do any work, you will not get joy. Even the worldly work, even the work in the office, even the work as a housewife, a student, if you do it half-heartedly, you won't get any joy. Joy comes when we become one with the pursuit. So, even if you do not have progress, just be one with the pursuit and try to do this. I sometimes think that I am constantly hammering you, do this, do that, and you are not liking it. Somehow I get that feeling at times. But of course, some people come and tell me that you take everything very minutely, tell us what to do after what. That is very good for us. But mostly I feel people become afraid that, in the name of spirituality, so many things have to be done. Yes. And I always say, these things, if you do with your whole heart, it gives joy and bliss. What did I say just now? Prana, Indriya, Atma, Abhijayena, Sadhryak. Complete restraint. You have to restrain your mind. You have to restrain your senses, your pranas. In any sphere, whether it is worldly, as a student, as a housewife, or an office goer, a businessman, a doctor, an engineer, whoever it is, we cannot allow our senses and mind to go wherever it likes. We always have to restrain. That is why we discipline the children. And we grow up with discipline. And in spirituality also. What is the spirituality? What is the aim? Only when you forget your aim, it will all look not necessary. What is the aim? To have peace and happiness. How will you have peace and happiness when the mind is absolutely calm? How will the mind become calm? When there is no disturbance in the mind. How the disturbance is not there? When the mind is restrained, the senses are restrained, there is no desire. So, I think everybody wants peace and happiness in life, fearlessness in life, unaffectedness in life. Everybody wants that. And for that, the mind has to be completely restful. These are the things which are being told to how to make the mind restful, calm, tranquil. So for that, restraint of the mind, restraint of the senses, restraint of the prana is absolutely necessary. And Sat Shraddhaya. What is Sat Shraddhaya? Having Shraddha for Sat, Janas, that is the sadhus, the holy people, the Mahatmas, and also the things which are good, noble, virtuous, those things. Have Shraddha for that. If we have Shraddha for that, naturally our mind will go towards that. Even if our people surrounding us, they try to bring us down to Rajasic and Tamasic things, our mind will not come. Because we have developed Shraddha for Sattvika qualities, noble qualities, good values, and Mahatmas and holy people. Then Brahmacharyena. Brahmacharya, celibacy is necessary. Even for householders, there are injunctions given by the Vedas when they should meet their wives. Also Brahmacharya means to be dwelling in the thought of Brahman always. That we can do. Constantly the mind goes here and there, bring it back to the thought of Brahman. Uparati. That we can do. And Shashvat asampramadena, constantly, without fail, Nirantara, Nitya, asampramadena, there should not be any inattention. Inattention. You know that sloka from Vivekachudamani where Shankaracharya gives a very beautiful example that a man wants to play with a ball, holds a ball and goes. He has to go to a field and he comes at the edge of a flight of steps. He should go down the steps and then the field is there. At the edge of the staircase, he just becomes inattentive. What was his aim? To go down and play with the ball. Now he has become inattentive. As soon as he became inattentive, the grip in the hand loosens, the ball falls down, and the ball just goes bumping, bouncing, and ultimately it goes away from your vision. Where it goes, who knows? So, our lakshya should be, our aim, we should be very, very careful about our aim. We should not allow that aim to be forgotten or go away from the mind. So whatever we do, even this disciplines that Rishabha Deva is telling the children to pursue, and in telling his own children, he is actually telling all the devotees in every age that you should do this. This is the one way to do. And he is telling this, giving these instructions. And see, he even mentions that Shashvat asampramadena. This just to follow the disciplines is not the aim. That you read the Shastras also, you do a little Vichara also, you go and sit in the solitude also. Not that. Aim is there. Aim should not be forgotten. That with all this, our aim is to have the supreme bliss, that state of unaffectedness, the state of peace and happiness. So the aim should not be forgotten. Then, yamena vacham. All these things together with one must be having restraint of speech. Restraint of speech. Just see. If speech is not restrained, we actually waste so much of energy, so much of time. We unnecessarily talk and then say we didn't get time. Unnecessarily we talk. There are, as I said just now, there will be some discussions and decisions to be made. Even in the household, there are so many things which are necessary to be talked to. But we just waste our time unnecessarily talking and wasting time. So yamena vacham, there should be some yama of vakya, some yama of speech. That also you have to see. So by all these things, what do we understand? We understand that how much we have to be attentive to what we are doing. Yamena vacham. So one more shloka is there, that I'll do next time. My dear children, I don't know whether this helps you. It should, you know. Many things you may be doing actually. It gives a confirmation that these are to be done. And those who have not done, it should be an inspiration to do. Because then only that divinity and auspiciousness will grip. Otherwise it is just mechanically listening, reading, and feeling that I am very spiritual. That is not the aim. The aim is to be spiritual, to be divine, which is our nature. Not even to be, to understand that I am divine, I am spiritual. I just have to remove all the trash from everywhere and understand that I am this beautiful jewel, the Atma. Okay. Sampurnam Jagadeva Nandanavanam Sarvepi Kalpadrumaha Gangam Vari Samasta Vari Nivaha Punyas Samasta Kriyaha Vacha Prakrita Samskrita Shruti Shiro Varanasi Medini Sarvavasthitirasya Vastu Vishaya Drishti Parabrahmani Sarvavasthitirasya Vastu Vishaya Drishti Parabrahmani. Jai Guru, Jai Guru.